Welcome to this Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco, coming to you live as we do every single day, noon to 2 Eastern, from the Corona Bunker Studios. Here, we're still here, right in my house in Staten Island, New York. Crazy things going on in New York City and New York State. I mean, we got two literal left-wing progressive cuckoo birds running this state. And the latest thing that's got my blood boiling, that I'm going to have to take down at least a six-pack of White Claws today just to keep myself calm, is I'm going to pound it every single day until somebody does something. There's petitions going around. People are reaching out to me. Governor Cuomo is allowing MTV to have some silly award show where they can give out these gratuitous little spacemans to people that mean literally nothing on August 31st. But he is not allowing the families of 9/11 first responders and those people who perished in the worst terrorist attack in American history, not allowing those family members to keep the tradition of coming down, saying the names, hearing the people, seeing the other people in their support groups, and it's absolutely sickening. I got a knot in my throat. I got a knot in my stomach. Conservative artist Scott LeBedo is going to be joining us a little later on in the show. He's at war with the mayor. We'll get into that. Marking a little bit of a free fall here, looking at the Dow at 26.2, down 300 on the day. You know, I've been telling you, we could be in a tumultuous situation here in the short term. The market is so over-inseminated with artificial cash. I told you yesterday, the U.S. dollar is down 8%, which is a terrible sign for a weak dollar. It's not good, other than it keeps commodity prices okay. So more people will be buying commodities in U.S. dollars. But Bitcoin's still nudging just above 11,000. I like it. It's hanging in here. But the big news, for those of you who watch the show every day or often or sometimes, and everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook and all that other stuff, drop me a comment if you remember last week when I said Overstock.com was probably on a trajectory like Wayfair. And Wayfair has never made money in history. And I said, I told you I knew from being an employee, being a consultant, working at Overstock in many capacities, that this is a company that has a tradition of profitability. The quarantine's been good to them. I told you at 50, I think the stock's 100. That was a week and a half ago. Today, Overstock.com reports earnings, $76. I hope you own some call options like I do, and my friend Tommy Reed does, because I think the stock's going to 100. They made a tremendous amount of money this quarter, so you might want to take a little closer look. It's not out of gas. There is a lot of room to roam, and Wayfair is like 200 and change. So Overstock at 75, it's like a discount, if you ask me. And there's a lot of great things going on the cryptocurrency division and making a lot of advances in a new area where they've spent a lot of money on growth. All that money's starting to come back to them. So you might, if it's suitable for you, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't play one on TV. I drink alcohol every single day for 2 hours while I'm talking to you about stocks. So don't take any financial advice from me, but I'm an owner of the stock. And fundamentally, I think it's something, if you want to focus in on companies that actually grew during the quarantine, some of these e-commerce companies, they motivated old customers and they brought on a lot of new customers who maybe wanted to go to Macy's or go to the mall or something else, and they can't. They're exploring other options. Overstock exploding at $76. So George Santos is going to join us a little later on in the show, but more importantly, we kick things off today with internet sensation and one of my favorite guests, and at some point she's going to be my co-host, I hope, but Fog City Midge, otherwise known as Maggie Vanderberg, is going to be here and talk to us about the white coat rally, all these doctors that are down in Washington giving you real facts about hydroxychloroquine. And she actually caught up with Jerry Nadler in the middle of the street, and he said, this whole crime thing in Portland is a myth, okay? It will be a mythical appearance in just moments when I'm joined right here by Fog City Midge. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch. I'm John Tobacco. We're coming to you from the Corona Bunker Studios, and I'm really getting comfortable here. I used to travel into the city every day to go to the studio and put on a suit and a tie and all that other stuff, but in the Corona, I've learned to do the show in my bathing suit and flip-flops, with a shirt and jacket on, so it's kind of comfortable. But I like to kick off the show every day with like a real whopper, a leadoff guest that really gets things going, and I beg her all the time to come on, and she's always there for us. My good friend, we know her as Fog City Midge, but in case you care, her name is Maggie Vanderberg, joins us right now. Conservative filmmaker, social media extraordinaire, influencer. And Midge, you were down in Washington for this White Coat Summit, and I saw some of the videos you were putting up. You're always telling the truth, and all of a sudden this stuff is disappearing like mad. What was going on the ground? You were there.
Yeah, it was a fascinating 2 days. I was invited to the White Coat Summit, which was hosted by America's Frontline Doctors, which is a group of doctors who have been actively treating coronavirus patients on the front lines. These are doctors who have seen, COVID patients every single day and have been treating them. So these are doctors who are actually out there. They're doing this work, and they are speaking out against much of the mainstream media narrative. Things that have been, pushed by the CDC and the WHO that don't necessarily make sense to many of the doctors who are out there who are actually practicing medicine and working with these patients. And so these doctors, many of them have posted videos themselves on social media. Dr. Erickson from Los Angeles posted a video that had millions of views on YouTube and was removed after 2 days. So, these doctors came together to host this summit, to live stream their lectures and talking about what they've found or just what they have seen in practice and what they suspect is happening. And it was a fascinating few-day event. And what was so crazy is, that video that went viral of Dr. Stella Emanuel speaking about her experience treating patients with hydroxychloroquine, which got 18 million views, was removed in less than a day from YouTube and Facebook. And it's just been crazy to see the way that big tech has reacted to that information and those videos and these doctors' professional opinions being censored and silenced. So I've seen a lot of crazy stuff with big tech over the past few years, but I've never seen anything this dramatic.
So, Midge, let me ask you this. I mean, neither of us are doctors. We don't play one on TV either. But you're a pretty savvy person. I know, you could see through a lot of crap. I tend to believe early on in the process, with the right dosage for certain people, hydroxychloroquine does have a positive effect on people, right? And I know they say, well, I saw the doctor saying all 350 people. I don't know if it's 100%, but I think there's a certain place where it works. What did you make of what you heard down there, you personally?
Absolutely. My eyes have been open through all of this. I definitely was interested, maybe a bit skeptical. But after speaking with these doctors, hearing what they had to say for the last few days, reading the articles that they have pulled together, and this is all based on data that previously existed before this, epidemic. So you can go look at the research and the studies for yourself. Hydroxychloroquine, there was a study done, I think it was 2005, and this study proved that hydroxychloroquine was effective in treating SARS-CoV-1, which was an earlier, different variation of what we're seeing today. And so if that was effective to treat it then, why all of a sudden is it so controversial to use it now? So I think that the science is there to support using it in a way to help treat patients. And if the doctors are seeing that it's effective, I don't know why it has become so controversial to use in practice. There was an amazing, long paper written by Dr. Simone Gold, which you can download online. I'm going to post it on my own links just so people have access to it. That is an incredible paper written by Dr. Gold, all about everything related to hydroxychloroquine. She believes that if used early and used in the proper way, it can cure, it can treat and prevent, really bad infection with the vast majority of patients that have coronavirus. So what's crazy is that article was up on their website, and their website was taken down yesterday with no explanation for why. But it's really crazy to see the tech censorship isn't just coming from Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, but it's also coming from these hosting companies, which are not allowing them to have a private platform to post this information online. So luckily, other people have have access to this paper and are posting it and are sharing it online. So I highly recommend every single person to go read that document and to, look into it for themselves and decide for themselves, is this drug safe? Is it effective? It's been FDA approved for 65 years. What do I think about whether or not it should be used in this way? So I highly recommend people go check that out.
So, Midge, also, while you were down in D.C., and I'm so glad to have you on the East Coast, you ran into Jabba the Hutt in the street.
We're actually driving in an Uber to go do, check out the location where the summit was going to be taking place. And we see, is that Jerry Nadler? So we flipped the Uber around, get out of the car, and we came up with a quick strategy. And we went in, and I sort of went up to him like, oh my goodness, is that Jerry Nadler, Representative Nadler? Oh my goodness, can we take a picture with you? So exciting to see you out here. So we take a photo with him. He is so flattered. He thinks we are just, tourists and big fans coming to DC, and just so excited to run into him. And then the next thing I did was I said, oh, why don't I take a picture, just you and Fleckus? And so instead of taking a picture, I hit record, and all of a sudden, he starts asking him questions. And Jerry Nadler, he said two things that I found absolutely outrageous. He said that Antifa is a myth, that it's a myth just going around DC, that there's really not these Antifa-led riots happening in Portland. And the other thing he said, which is in the extended version of that video, which people can find on my Instagram page, in the extended version, Fleckus asked him, well, what about the crime increase? You're from New York, you're a representative of New York. We've seen a 300% crime increase since this defund the police movement has started. What do you make of that? Is this good for New York? And Jerry Nadler said, that's irrelevant. The increase in crime, 300%, that's irrelevant. And I would like to say to Representative Nadler that, is it irrelevant when someone's business is destroyed, burned, looted? Is it irrelevant when people are, getting assaulted in the street? Is it irrelevant when homicide is up? I mean, these are American citizens, and, any increases in crime is not irrelevant. So I was absolutely appalled.
He's been irrelevant since he's been irrelevant since like Star Wars 2. The guy looks like he's out of some cartoon or something. I can't even believe what he looks like, but great work.
Those pants, he's like the Penguin. What is that?
Yeah, his pants are up to his neck. I mean, his tie has to be like a foot. I don't even know who dresses the guy, but that's a whole nother story. But Midge, give us a little comparison now that you're up here in New York. You've been right in the thick of things on the left coast there. What do you see? Any differences? Any similarities? Better, worse? What are you thinking?
I'm appalled to see what has happened to New York City. I lived here prior to moving back to San Francisco, and it's shocking to see what progressive politics have done to the city. I've never, in the time when I lived in New York, I never saw any homeless on the subway. I never saw, people selling drugs openly in the street. I never saw people shooting heroin or drugged out of their minds. I've seen all of that in the 24 hours since I came to New York City. And it's shocking to me how quickly this city has completely gone downhill. Just outside the apartment where I'm staying yesterday, I watched a man selling drugs basically the whole afternoon. People would walk up and he's selling them. And, it's just shocking to me how many homeless we have, the state of the subway. The subway used to be a very safe, wonderful public transportation that everyone took. And now it has been taken over by the homeless. And it's incredibly sad to see the lawlessness taking place on the streets of New York City because of incompetent Mayor Deblasio.
It is unbelievable. All right, Midge, we got to leave it here. I do want to tell you that at the Corona Bunker Studios, some of my friends have taken some initiative and made my house an actual location, Tobacco Lago. It's the East Coast Presidential Resort, but there are no homeless folks here as of now. The pool's open, the beach is ready, and anytime you're ready for a little rest and relaxation, you're welcome to join me here in studio.
Tobacco Lago sounds fabulous. I cannot wait to visit.
All right, good. We'll see you soon. Check her out on Instagram. That's Fog City Midge. Maggie Vandenberg's a great friend. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back right after this with Graham Summers, talk about the Fed and why Trump will win. Right after this. Welcome back. Welcome back. We're just busting it through this first hour here. My buddy Scott Lebedo coming up in just a minute, taking a look in on the markets in some tumultuous territory here right now at 26,200. As I've been telling you for the past few weeks, when the stock market breaks through these big round numbers and closes below them, it causes some programmatic things. And I think, below 25 is a bad sign. 22 is really where the trap door is. So any bad news, any states closing, somebody, unfortunately, Herman Cain died today. It's alleged that he was at a rally in Tulsa, and 3 weeks later, he's dead. So all of these things contribute to uncertainty in the markets. And I still feel like with all the artificial insemination the government has put into this market with printing digital cash that doesn't really exist, the market needs to clean out all of that artificial insemination, and I think there could be a clean out to as low as 18,000. But speaking of the Fed expanding its balance sheet to 8 trillion or something like right now, one of the foremost experts in the world on the Fed joins us right now. Graham Summers joins us for the first time. He's the chief marketing strategist of Phoenix Capital Research. Fed met yesterday. I didn't see anything to the layman. I'm not a Fed expert like you are. I didn't see anything outrageous there. Break it down for us what you see happening there, and we got a few other things to cover too, Graham.
Well, I really like the word you used there, outrageous, because for something to be outrageous, it needs to be not ordinary. But we're in such an extraordinary time this year with Fed policy that the Fed really has to do something ridiculous for it to seem strange at this point. So as a little perspective, in the aftermath of the 2008 crisis, which we often refer to as the worst crisis in 80 years, the Fed kept interest rates at zero for 8 years and spent about $3 trillion in quantitative easing. Well, the Fed just spent more than $3 trillion between April and June of this year alone. And besides that, yesterday in the meeting, the reason the markets popped on the news was because Fed Chair Jerome Powell essentially told the market, we are planning to keep doing what we're doing now, which is these kind of crisis level extraordinary measures until there's a full recovery. And the Fed's previously said they believe a full recovery is not coming till the end of 2021, maybe early 2022. So breaking it down in simple terms, what the Fed basically said was, we're going to provide about $125 billion in liquidity every single month until the economy's back where it was prior to COVID. And that's basically the Fed saying we're backstopping just everything. And that's why stocks went up.
And yeah, I mean, and I don't know, if you heard some of my prognosis on this stuff, but, my background is I've been a short seller for 30 years. So I kind of look at charts the opposite way of other people.
Yes.
And I see this whole run up, to me, it's all caused by the stimulus. It's all caused by this artificial liquidity that the government keeps printing. And I think it's the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. And at some point it's going to break, and it's going to break bad. And I think that's why we see assets like gold and also Bitcoin moving up, because at least there's a finite, a known supply as a commodity in it. And I think people are having a flight to, these traditional things like gold. What do you see happening with gold?
So gold hit a new all-time high just a few days ago. And you're absolutely right. Gold is actually very problematic for the Fed. Most Americans, when they hear about gold, it immediately ignites the thought of inflation in their minds. And historically, prices have basically gone up almost nonstop since the early 70s when we first broke away from the gold standard. But things like education, housing, food, they happen so gradually, and the media never really lashes onto it as an inflationary measure. Gold's different. When gold begins to spike, it catches people's attention. It becomes problematic as an inflation gauge. So the Fed's very concerned, I think, with what gold's doing, because gold's essentially calling the Fed's bluff, which is that the Fed seems to believe that it can somehow cause economic growth by printing all this digital money without igniting inflation. So the real question is, what's different between now and 2008? Because in 2008, the Fed did similarly crazy things, but we didn't get this inflationary spike, and gold didn't do what it's doing today. Well, the difference is, at that time, the Fed was essentially giving handouts to Wall Street. and Wall Street would take that money and put it into stocks, put it into other things. This time around, money is actually going straight into the economy in the form of these stimulus payments the government's doing. And the Fed's also doing Main Street lending. So instead of the money just staying on bank balance sheets and being used by institutional investors to leverage up their stock holdings, this time around, money's actually going into the economy, which is why inflation is starting to take off. And that's why gold's igniting like it is. And the second component to that is that we're in a time of tremendous political instability, and gold is typically a fear gauge as well. Whenever you start to see riots, whenever you start to see civil unrest and these sorts of things happening, people tend to move towards gold because it's a safe haven asset.
So I don't know if you follow cryptocurrency at all.
A little bit, yeah, of course.
I was one of the founding team of Overstock's T0 division, which was the first company in the world to accept, in the U.S., to accept Bitcoin, and I kind of got involved in this stuff in 2014.
Right.
And Bitcoin they give out a bounty for people who confirm transactions on the network, right? They just cut that fee in half. And what that does is it actually starts to limit the supply. So as our government is diluting the dollar's down 8.8%, and it's like the biggest drop in history, I think, or close to it. Bitcoin is actually getting less dilution to people out there. So I think more and more people are getting adoption on that. In our final 2 minutes here, tell me why Trump is a lock to win the re-election in your view.
I think culturally this country has become so divided, and that the consequence of being pro-Trump publicly is so dramatic. I mean, we're seeing teachers and people being fired for just making social media posts now. That the reality is, and this is the dirty secret that the Beltway doesn't like to talk about, is that most of the polls are just total garbage. Why is that? Well, first of all, they're mostly done on landlines, and the response rate is 9%. So they call 100 people, tops 9 will answer. And then on top of that, people are naturally suspicious of explaining their political views at this time because we're in such a divisive and antagonistic environment. Why would I tell a total stranger, hi, yes, I'm going to vote for Trump. Yes, I think he's great. When I don't even know this person, they could go publish that publicly and I get fired, lose my job, or worse. So I think the reality is the shy Trump voter is going to be a very powerful force this time around. I combine that with Joe Biden being I guess you could say, not particularly popular. I mean, the best thing he's got going for him for Democrats is that he's, quote, not Trump. There's not a whole lot of enthusiasm around him.
Yeah, there's a poll out there that the mainstream media and the loons on the left are not really publicizing a lot. But I think 60% of the people who said they're voting for Joe Biden, when asked why, because he isn't Trump. There's no enthusiasm
exactly right.
for him. They just it's anybody but Trump to many of these people. And to me, a lot of this lockdown stuff and this Antifa hijacking, peaceful protests and stuff is really because the fear in the Dems' eyes is that Trump was making good gains with the African-American community, and they're trying to slow that down too. Graham, we got to leave it there. I really appreciate you. Maybe we got to hook something up where you join us every week or two and give us a little update on what's happening with the Fed.
I'd like that. Take care now.
All right, thank you. That's Graham Summers, Chief Marketing Officer of PhoenixCapitalResearch.com. We're going to take a quick break right here. We're going to come back with my buddy, conservative artist, and the man at war with Bill Deblasio. Scott Lebedo is going to be here next.
5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, welcome back. You're watching a Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. We kick it around, we fool around, we have some fun, we look at the lighter side of things. But I am absolutely incensed that this governor of New York State says it's okay for MTV to have some award ceremony in New York City. But at the same time, we cannot have the proper memorial and let the folks whose family members perished The first responders who ran into the buildings when they're burning and collapsing, they can't get up there and hear the names of their loved ones, speak to them. This is an annual thing where people get together. It's part of their support group, okay? I'm going to talk about this a lot. I'm going to talk about it every day, and I'm going to try to find as many allies as I can to change this moron's mind. And great ally of mine, and Liquid Lunch, joins us right now. George Santos is with us, and he was with us pre-COVID. He was with us when he was positive COVID, and now he's no longer COVID, but he's still pounding the pavement every single day to bring New York's 3rd Congressional District back to the Republican side. George, thanks for joining us again. All right, New York City,
Thank you for having me.
this is your congressional district. What are you going to do to make some noise to get Governor Cuomo to change his mind?
Let's put it this way. And John, as I heard you say it, I can't believe that that's the reality that we're living in, that I have to hear somebody actually say that the 9/11 memorial is canceled. The same memorial where many New Yorkers, Long Islanders, even New Jersey and Connecticut residents perished. First responders, law enforcement, everybody, people working the towers and media people, everybody just perished. And I get emotional. My parents were both down there the day of the attacks, and fortunately, none of them passed. But to see that the families of those who lost their loved ones will be recused from having a ceremony, which, like you said, is part of their support group, taken away from them, just strikes to me as a very foolish attempt of Cuomo and the left trying to erase that history, that very recent history that a lot of us saw. All of us alive, most of us alive today saw, millennials inclusive. I was 14 at the time. So to see that to me is just, now they're pushing, a little bit too hard. And at the same time, to see them approve an award ceremony that gathers thousands be approved because apparently celebrities are immune to COVID, or they're very special and they know how to protect themselves better than the average Joe, or, the wife or the husband of fallen first responders in 9/11. So I don't know which one it is that Governor Cuomo is trying to tell us, if that the celebrities know better, if he knows better, or if we're just not that intelligent enough to social distance and keep ourselves safe. So which one is Governor?
Georgie, if you think about it, okay, everybody's behind this Black Lives Matter movement, okay? And I say it all the time. If I said to you, George, hey, Black Lives Matter, man, and you'd say, yeah, of course they do. When you put a hashtag in front of it and you put it in all caps, now that movement is not something I can agree with, because the people who founded it are on the record Marxists. They want a Marxist society. They want to break down the nuclear family. They want the man out of the household. These are all the things that our country was founded on, okay? And one of the things in there in this, Marxist manifesto is the elimination of individuality. They don't want people to have individual expression, individual choice. And it's strange that we can have a ceremony, but they can't read the names of the folks and identify them as people. But they're going to be allowed to read the names of, criminals, drug dealers, gangbangers to get their MTV awards. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like a tale of two cities, literally.
Well, it's pretty much, you nailed it. One of the most praised individuals in the world, right, or in this country, I'm sorry, is Jay-Z, which was a drug dealer, a criminal. Okay, he cleaned up his act, he did good for himself, whatever. That doesn't dismiss the fact that what he sings or raps, whatever you call that art of his, he pretty much is an advertisement for upholding. I come from the streets. I hustled. I shot. I stabbed, and I was in a gang. He makes that. He glorifies that, along with all these other rappers that are going to be joining in together in the ceremony. And meanwhile, we're taking and silencing the voices of those who actually lost people, who are good people, who on September 11, 2001 didn't know they were going to run into the 2 tallest buildings in Manhattan, and it was going to fall on top of them. These men and women died trying to save the lives of other people. And to have their families not be able to mourn that, it's, again, and it goes against our American value. This is the First Amendment right. This is unconstitutional to stop something like this. So I think Governor Cuomo we should have an investigation open against Governor Cuomo, Mayor Bill de Blasio. It's funny, yesterday Bill de Blasio went on record saying, I can't tell you whether I'm going to, and I'm paraphrasing and not verbatim, but he said something along the lines of, I can't tell you if we're going to open schools or not in September because I can't make a decision for something that will take place in September. And here comes the governor and says 9/11 is not going to happen, and he endorses it because he agrees that it's dangerous. So how is it going to be dangerous in September to have the 9/11 memorial? And how do you know that so far in advance? You said you couldn't tell us about schools that far in advance. It's a double speak. They speak out of both sides of their mouth. And then again, in my opponent, Tom Suozzi, he's another one that just pretty much is as silent as they come. Black Lives Matter is an issue and an existential threat to my district, where vandalism is going up, which is historically was never an issue, but the North Shore of Long Island and South and Northeast Queens, which is usually a very calm area, has become pretty much, stomping grounds for these very violent, Marxist, non-peaceful protesters. Not everybody understands. If you want to protest civil rights, liberties, whatever, look at John Lewis, who just passed. He had a history of nonviolence and protesting, hands in your pocket, and that's not what these guys are doing. They're burning down buildings. They're burning down stores. They're looting. That's not protesting. That's disgusting. That's destroying America. The same people who said that Trump would destroy America are doing it themselves. So that's the society we're living in now. And the way to excuse it is they put a hashtag in front of caps letters that spell out Black Lives Matter.
Right. And it takes a perfectly uniting statement and turns it and weaponizes it into a front for a Marxist organization. If you click on Black Lives Matter, you click on their donate button, it takes you to another page called Act Blue.
Yep.
And if you look a little deeper into Act Blue has given over $1 billion to Democratic candidates. They spend most of the money in there for all kind of liberal causes. They give to Planned Parenthood and NAACP. All the big liberal causes are supported by Act Blue. So, do Black Lives Matter, or does hijacking a great problem being highlighted into a fundraising effort for left-wing anarchists? Because that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no, Act Blue is the Democratic platform for donations for their candidates, where their service fee, and for everybody watching, they don't understand this. So you make a donation to Dems, let's say $100, Act Blue keeps a percentage of that, and then what they use that money to do, which is ultimately the DNC does, it is distributes it into all these organizations such as Planned Parenthood and Black Lives Matter and whatnot. So it's the perfect finance collection mechanism to promote anarchy, Marxism, and ultimately socialism. These people are clearly spelling out and screaming, and some people don't see it, that they want the United States to become a communist society. And so long as I'm alive, I will fight, go to jail if I have to keep this country a free country, free market, and capitalist nation. This country will not be a communist or a socialist country. It's not under this generation's watch. I know that we're too good of a country to ruin it. Look at Cuba and all these other, shift holes.
Yeah. Hey, Georgie, talking about, Act Blue doing all this fundraising. I'm sure you need help with fundraising. So I want to remind our audience out there, George is always there for us. And if you want another Republican in the House that's going to support our president, you got to go to georgeforny.com, right? That's the website where the donate button is. You can learn a heck of a lot more about George. But go to George for NY, georgefornewyork.com. If you like what you see, make him a contribution and, put a sign on your lawn. If you're out there in his district, do something to help, because we need to take back the House, among other things. But you're always there for us. Janet is the best. You got the best advocate out there. She's on the show every day, and she's just awesome. And so are you, my friend. Keep up the good work. Keep fighting the good fight. He was out there last week with 3,000 people back in the blue. So if you want guys for law and order, guys who want to fund the police, guys who want to have the 9/11 families get the proper respect, You got to go vote for George Santos. All right, we're going to take a quick break right now. We're going to come back with Scott Lebedo, who's in a mano-a-mano brawl right now with Mayor Deblasio. We'll take a quick break, come back right after this.
Today I'm responding to this cease and desist letter I got from the city of New York because of the blue line I painted on Highland Boulevard. Here's my response. Did the mayor get this letter for putting his artwork down the street without a permit? No. Did the people who graffitied this whole city, any of them get this letter? No, they did not. This is discrimination against me because I'm a conservative artist and I support the men and women in blue. This letter ain't worth the paper it's printed on. There's no way you could put this. Now it's worth something. I created a work of art out of this letter, and I'm going to auction it off, and the funds are going to go to New York City cops and kids.
All right, welcome back. You want to know what's happening. I'm sure you want to know. This guy's on the show with us all the time. He's a famous conservative artist, and he's one of the biggest advocates out there for the NYPD. Put together this huge Boost the Blue support rally for the cops a couple weeks back that we covered right here on the show. Scott, number one, thanks for everything you do. But that was your response to the mayor. Now the mayor's taken to painting the streets in every borough, Black Lives Matter. You thought you could demonstrate your First Amendment right. You painted a thin blue line down the median in front of a precinct here in Staten Island. And now you get a letter from the mayor's office saying cease and desist, and they want you to remove it. Tell us what's happening.
Well, it's common sense. Again, as an artist, I don't mind that BLM street art. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother story. But the mayor didn't get a permit to do that. So he opened up the can of worms. The hell do I need a permit for?
You don't.
I'm going to support, again, it's not an anti-BLM thing. People got to get that through their heads. It's just to support the police, the men and women of these, of our police force whose their morale is at the lowest it's ever been, and it's horrific. So this mayor, who I'm not getting a Christmas card from him anytime soon because, I'm always tweaking.
No.
I'm always letting him know what he's doing wrong to this city.
I mean, you recently rolled out your most recent ode to Mayor Deblasio. I see you have it on the shirt right here.
I brought you a shirt.
I brought me a shirt. All right. I got the peace sign, which I bought at the opening, which is beautiful. But this is the newest work of art.
This I unveiled on a 20 by 30 foot banner over the Staten Island Expressway at rush hour, and that was not taken very well by the mayor.
It's really nice. And I mean, if you're an art aficionado like I am, it's pretty self-explanatory. This socialist is tearing the head off of the liberty of our city. I mean,
that's exactly it.
Good translation?
You don't need words with art.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what this picture, and it says 1,000 other words probably also that I can't use on television.
So again,
what are you going to do? You're going to go out and power wash the median now, or are you going to leave it just like it is?
I'm not touching it, and I have a good.
Can we do more?
I have good lawyers right now. Right now, I just want to get through this. I got good lawyers representing me because, again, this is discrimination. They singled me out. They have video footage of hundreds, if not thousands, of these graffiti artists that desecrated. Put graffiti on public property. Who's cleaning that? The city workers. None of them are cleaning it. None of them are cleaning it. Why did I get this letter? Why did I get this letter? So that was my response. And you know what I did? That letter wasn't worth anything. So what did I do? I made a piece of artwork out of it. And now it's up for auction. And what I'm doing with that money, all the proceeds are going to the New York City Cops and Kids Boxing Club.
Thank God. Now, let's be fair. I mean, you have taken aim at this mayor in the past, so this isn't a new development. When he started installing speed cameras in more places, Scott came up with this beautiful rendering. I'm going to just put it here for this segment, but I think you get the drift of it. You know what I mean? It says speed cam ahead.
And we had hundreds of people standing in front of every camera.
Putting these signs up everywhere. This guy has been a complete and utter disaster for New York City. The one thing I always credit him for is when he ran for mayor, he said, I want to do these things. I want to raise your taxes. I want more low-income housing. He was honest. He told us what was coming, but this, Democratic majority here in New York went with him.
And it's these Upper West Side people who now I know don't like him because they see what's happening to their neighborhood. It's being destroyed. So they're like, what did they do wrong? It's mind-boggling. We've been here how long? I'm 55, you're my age. This was the greatest city in the world. It is now. It's going to fall like Rome. We're this close to that happening. So people have to rally, because in 2 weeks from now, I'm holding a rally at City Hall during the week, and nobody may have an excuse not to be there.
Well, we'll be there, and we'll spread the word. When Scott had the Booster Blue, we try to help spread the word.
If you want to bid on that painting, go to my website, scottlobedo.com. It's already up to $4,500. Let's make money. They want to defund the police. Let's fund the police.
So, Scott, I had John Banzaf on last week. He's a big public interest attorney. He, brings cases like, when they advertise cigarettes on TV, he brought the case that they would have to spend X amount of money to have anti-smoking ads, and, like things like airbags and seatbelts. It's like a Ralph Nader type attorney. Right. And he told me 2 weeks ago, he said, by allowing this, they open the door for the First Amendment to be used against them. And that's exactly what you zeroed in on, what John Banzaf said. So can you see, and by the way, Lou Gellermino and Mark Fonte's your attorney, his partner Lou Gellermino, great friends of mine. When I and us here at Liquid Lunch put together a rally to support small business, and Scott was there to support me for Bobby from Sunbelievable, Mark and Lou represented him also for free. And just on an update there, you got people who are coming out of the shadows that maybe were part of the silent majority, and they're starting to show their face. And Scott's face has been out there. My face has been out there. But you got guys like Fonte and Gellermino who are representing you for free. They represent the Bobby for free. So we're picking up warriors little by little.
Yes.
We need a lot. And everybody says, we got to protest. JT, we got to do it. We got to get out there and everything else. And then, we get 300 people at a tanning salon. You get 500, 600 people at the precinct. We need thousands of people right in front of City Hall. And if you got a roller around and you go by your local precinct, you might want to paint a little thin blue line on the median or out front just to show your support. And Mark and Lou have told me anybody who wants to support the cause, they're there to represent them also. And they won the case for Bobby, too. He got the ticket to Smith.
Yeah, I'm very happy with
They already beat Deblasio. You've been beating them over the head for years with paintings and, exhibitions.
I'm a person of interest already. It's a picture of me in City Hall, and it says, not a violent threat, but an embarrassment to the mayor.
Ouch.
So you don't think this is personal?
Of course it's personal. All right.
Bring it. You picked the wrong guy.
Well, you heard it here. He's always there for us. I saw this breaking last night. I wanted to bring it to you, but we got like 10 seconds left. But the 9/11 thing, they're not going to let the family speak. You're going to do anything for that?
What do you mean? You kidding me? We will be there, whatever it takes to speak those names. I don't care what it takes. We will be there.
I'm with you. Okay. That's my buddy Scott Lobedo. You got to go to scottlobedo.com. There's a painting being auctioned off, and all the proceeds are going to cops and kids of deceased boxing clubs. I'm sorry. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with a second hour of Liquid Lunch right after this. Welcome back, folks. I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes.
How's it working?
I'm still corona free.
Didn't even might be fake chemo.
Hey, all right, welcome back. Great to have Scott Lobedo pass by the studio, spend a little time with a human. We haven't had many guests on the show in person, but Scott's always there for us. And let me tell you, he is one big, giant thorn in the side of our mayor, and he keeps pounding him. And you gotta love the patriotism of a guy like this, because there's no gain. It's not like he's getting rich. He's a struggling artist, literally. I've known him for 40 years. He's always been a struggling artist. He's not in it for money. He's not in it for fame. He's already famous. He's not in it for power. He's in it because he knows that voices have to speak. And he speaks with his art. He speaks with his mouth. He speaks with his feet. He speaks with his actions. And we need a lot more than that. Now, We have a whole bunch of things going on. Tisha Powell, nationally acclaimed attorney and author of the book Trump Must Win, is going to join us in just a few minutes. But before that, I was talking yesterday about this investigation into the Ellen DeGeneres show. And there is mounting evidence in Ellen land that the show may be canceled. And there's like a corrupt culture of bullying, racism, and a lot of allegations out there against Ellen, okay? And many of them, if you follow it one or two level removed, many of them bring Ellen right into the circle of Satan with multiple connections to Jeffrey Epstein. So I look a little harder, and I'm looking at things, and then somebody shows me a picture of Ellen's set, and then they put it next to a picture of the temple on Jeffrey Epstein's island. So as these conspiracy theories grow, I'm trying to find things that make sense to me. And there is, do we have a picture of Ellen's studio, Nico?
That's the one that I took. This is the...
Okay, that's Ellen's studio. And
Without the lights lit up.
right, so it doesn't look anything like the temple on Epstein Island without the lights, but okay. One of the other connections out there that many in the QAnon and all these other things are talking about is that Tom Hanks has also been on Jeffrey Epstein's plane. He's been to Jeffrey Epstein's island, allegedly. Just last week, Tom Hanks and his wife, Rita Wilson, announced that they're now citizens of Greece. So, if people are changing their citizenship to maybe get out of here, maybe something's coming. And then people say, well, Ellen is buddies with Tom Hanks, and they were both buddies with Jeffrey Epstein. And I say, well, is Ellen really friends with Tom Hanks, or they just know each other from Hollywood or whatever? And one of my producers, Jess, actually went to an Ellen taping, and she remembered she had this photo laying around. She brought it in for proof that in the front row of Ellen's show, there's a gold-plated seat with Tom Hanks' name on it. Were there other chairs, Jess, with Tom Hanks' name on them? Were there any other celebrities' names? Only Tom Hanks has his own gold-plated nameplate on a chair in Ellen's studio. So I don't know. And then other mounting evidence that this is like our own stuff. Jess had this photograph laying around that was taken, I guess, in the green room? There's a selfie with that's Bradley Cooper, Ellen. Who else is in there? Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey, Jared Leto. A lot of people who are supposedly mentioned in the whole pedophile, sex trafficking, exsanguination. I don't know. The connections are getting crazier by the minute, and it looks like Ellen and Tom Hanks have a really special relationship, and her set looks like the temple on Epstein Island. So it gets crazier by the minute. I'm just reporting what we're finding. That's it. We're going to take a quick break right here. We're going to come back after this with Tisha Powell, and we're going to break down Joe Biden, his pick for VP, and all this other stuff. Quick break. Back right after this. During the commercials, I'm live on Facebook throughout the whole show. For those of you watching out there, thank you for all your support. Yesterday, we reached 5,000 timelines, which is huge for us. That's good on just Facebook. And we had like 27 shares yesterday. So if you could, share the stream. Don't just share it. Put in a comment. Hey, you want to hear real news? You want to hear somebody who tells it to you straight? Check out my friend John on Liquid Lunch, and I appreciate it. And if you go to YouTube, you're watching this right now on YouTube, you want to hear all the great things happening that Tisha Powell's about to talk about, we need your help there too. Drop us a like, hit subscribe on the page, leave us a comment. Hey, this is great. Hey, that sucked. You're horrible. You're fat. I don't care what it is. Give us some feedback. We love interaction with our audience. Do it for me. We need you to do it so that we can keep expanding the platform. And the only way to break the algorithms is by massive engagement. You don't have to have 10 million people, but you got to have an amount of people that watch your stuff and have interactions with them. And I need you to help me with this stuff. So don't hurt. Hit the heart, hit the thumb up, hit the thumb. I don't care what you hit. Hit something. Leave a comment too, you know? And yes, I know. Somebody just said I'm having a bad hair day. I agree. I am having a bad hair day. I'm sweating like a terrorist in here. But all right, it's even going to get hotter because we're joined now by my dear friend and nationally acclaimed attorney Tisha Powell joins us right now to light up our lives. She's the author of Trump Must Win, Discover the Dark Days America Will Face if Trump is not reelected in 2020. Tisha, I got to ask you this. Joe Biden has had mistake after mistake after mistake. Are you considering voting for Joe Biden?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you're not going to vote for Joe Biden. So then, according to what he said to Lawrence McKelvey, aka Charlemagne the God, you ain't black. I'm looking at the screen, and I tend to think you're black.
I'm black as they come. My son and daughter are black, and I'm telling you, I'm not giving you my vote, Joe Biden. You will not get this black baby mama vote.
Okay. So now, on top of that, he's come out and said, I'm going to pick an African-American woman as my VP, right? He said something along those lines, right? And you hear Val Demings, you hear Kamala Harris, you hear Karen Bass, you hear all these names, right? Isn't that almost like over-the-top racism to say I'm only going to pick a black person because I want to pander to the black voter?
I think that people should look into that. Absolutely. It was not going to be this way, but all of a sudden with Black Lives Matter, Joe Biden is like, why not get a woman and get a black one at that so I can get all these voters? And that's exactly what is going on with the Democratic Party. They're pandering to voters. I mean, Kamala Harris, God bless her heart, she's a senator, that's a lot of work. She doesn't have any children. How is she going to relate to me, a black mother of 2? Seriously, President Trump has 5 kids. He can't relate to me. He knows what it's like to be struggling with children. They're not easy to raise. Raising children in America is not easy. We need people out there that have kids to tell us, like, I know what you're going through. I know you struggle. I mean, John, you have kids. You know what it's like. It's hard work.
Oh, man. Well, I got to tell you, my kids are not really hard work because they're quite special and perfect. But it is hard work to make sure that your kids stay on the right path. And me and my kid's mom did everything we could. And it is hard. It's mentally hard to know in these crazy times to make sure that your kids stay on the right path. But I know you're doing a great job as a mom. Unfortunately, Kamala Harris seems to be the pick. That's what people are thinking. Susan Rice is also in the running. What do you think about Kamala Harris? I mean, she was a prosecutor. She threw many African Americans in jail for small crimes and stuff. Is this going to work against them? Is this going to backfire in your view?
Well, it's very unlikely that people pick a president based upon a vice president, because usually we're voting for the president of the United States. But most people think Joe Biden only wants to do 1 term anyway. So that's why he's going for, someone else who's probably have more energy than he does, more momentum than he does. I think Kamala Harris looks very good on paper, but she's just as liberal as Joe Biden is, or probably even more liberal. Kamala Harris was the one who said no more red meat. If most people don't remember what she said, and that was upsetting to a lot of voters, that she was that big of a socialist or big of a liberal, or just don't have any care or desire for us. But I guess paper is more of what it is, but I don't think that this is going to change anything. I think President Trump deserved to get another 4 years.
So, unfortunately, today we hear of the passing of Herman Cain. Herman Cain really broke out as a presidential candidate. I was on the radio this morning with Frank Morano, our buddy, and it was breaking news when we were on air. And I was saying, Frank was saying, I remember 8 years ago, you and I, John, he was talking to me, you were telling me that Herman Cain was your favorite candidate, which he was. For me at that time, he came from the business sector, he came out of nowhere, he was speaking the truth, he had the 999 plan. I actually think Herman Cain was the earlier version of Trump because he didn't care. He came from the private sector and he said it like it is.
Pretty much. I mean, the Lord has been good. I had the privilege of meeting Herman Cain years ago, and he's going to be missed, John. He's a real sweet person. You know, whoever got to know him, whoever got to meet him, just understood that what you saw was what you get. You know, that big, warm smile, it was always there if you had a bad day. And, you know, you could talk to Herman. He would listen to you and actually have advice to give to you. And he'll just be missed. It's really sad to wake up to news like that.
The 999. Hey, also Seattle is dealing, with the coronavirus outbreak, and also these, riots and unrest is going on out there since May 25th. And everybody's still talking about defunding the police. I mean, if we had less police, we'd have even bigger problems on our hands right now, wouldn't we?
Yeah, John, this is what I can't believe. They're actually going to be voting on it. They're trying to 50%. They want to take away 50% of the police budget in Seattle. And I just want to remind people about this. Evil exists, and the police are here to protect us from evil people. Criminals will purposely move to Seattle. They will purposely go to Seattle to commit a crime when you go ahead and take 50% of your budget from the police. Gang members are listening. They're going to be very happy when they hear it. It's going to be a new place for people to start up drugs, illegal activity, prostitution. Just name it. It's going to happen. We can't be this naive and gullible. We can't be led by these blind socialists and these blind liberals. This is reality. We need police officers. And I'm talking as a Black woman in America. Please do not take police officers from my community. It hurts people. It really does hurt people. There's no help in this. I can't even believe we're having this conversation, John. It doesn't even sound like it's sensible to me.
It doesn't sound sensible, but I'm glad we're having this conversation. You look beautiful today. Your yellow dress is lighting up the screen. And it's been so dark and dingy with all the craziness going on. It's always nice to see you. I'm trying to get, next week for Woman Wednesday, I'm trying to get an actual live panel here in the studio. Can we maybe possibly get you in the studio one of these days? Frank's coming down, Zen's coming down. We're gonna have a good old-fashioned, real in-person show. I mean, I don't know if you can make it to Staten Island. It's not that far.
Not this Wednesday. Unfortunately, next Wednesday I'm out of town for work.
Where are you going?
Colorado.
Oh, really? So there's no, you could travel to Colorado and you don't have to quarantine?
It's pretty low there.
Oh,
But
all
I'll
right.
find out when I get there if I have to quarantine, and I'll just stay in a hotel.
Understood. All right. Well, hopefully, maybe we'll have so much fun next week. We'll do it again. And when you get back,
The following Wednesday, I'll definitely be in.
I would love that. Okay. Tisha Powell's a nationally recognized legal analyst. She's also the author of the book Trump Must Win. She's a super mom, super lawyer, and a super great friend of the show. Thank you very much, dear. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, John. God bless.
All right, that's Tisha Powell, and we're just buzzing through hour 2 right here. We're going to check back in on the markets in just a little bit, and my buddy Joe Hagan is going to join us. Joe is the CEO of Wealth Colony, and Wealth Colony has some amazing passive income generating products that he's going to talk to you about that you might want to slip into your portfolio. We're going to break down what's in your wallet right after this. Hey, welcome back. You watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tobacco. We are kicking it live today, and Market not looking so great. Overstock still on fire, up $15 at 75. I think the stock's going to 100, folks. And I put my money where my mouth is. There's some options that I just got into with an $80 exercise. So we'll keep an eye on that. Dow down 182, a little recovery from the morning. Bitcoin just above 11,000 in a very precarious position, but I think it's going to bounce here. 11 may be the new support like 9 was for a little while. And somebody who knows a heck of a lot about the markets, because I've been on Wall Street for 30 years. I've known this guy all that time. And he's also with me, one of the largest shareholders in InvestView. And I will disclaim this by saying I'm the chief digital officer at InvestView. I'm also a shareholder. I am not soliciting you to buy any common stock in InvestView, but I would encourage you to take a look at it because it is a tremendous growth company that is seeing some significant growth in their work from home business, where people become distributors and sell the investor education products from home. With more people cooped up in their houses, they're focused in a little more, sales are growing, and the company is just growing in all kinds of great ways. And to talk about the markets, because Joe, if you remember back in October, talked to us about Datadog, and the stock has like tripled since then, and talk to you a little bit about what's going on in investment. Joe Hagan's here, he's the CEO of Wealth Colony. Hey, Joey, how are you?
I'm good, John. Thank you. Good call on Overstock.com, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, pal. I think it's still rolling. If you ask me, it's catching Wayfair in leaps and bounds. And, you know, Wayfair has never had a profitable quarter, ever. And if you look at Overstock's earnings release, which came out this morning, they had a huge quarter, almost $1 billion in gross sales. And, you know, I think they did $1.9 billion last year. So to do $1 billion in a quarter is like killer. That's killer. And you know, if you look at it, and they're making money, if Wayfair's at like 2 and change, to me, Overstock's got to be worth 100. So, you know, I'm sticking with my Overstock call. I know you've been sticking with the Datadog. You wouldn't even give me another symbol last week. How's the dog been doing?
It's doing good. I mean, like I said, look for a pullback when it was in the 90s, and you had your opportunity last week at 85. It's up 3 today to 93. And I also think this could be a nice race, you know, with Overstock. I think it's going to be another $50 billion plus company. COVID, everything versatile in data, everything in the cloud. They, like I said, they added Amazon Web Services and the U.S. government as clients. So their numbers going forward, when they're reported, I think are going to be dynamite. So that's solid, up 3 to 93 today. I think there's a lot of upside left over time, literally in the next 6 months. And Bitcoin looks great too at 11,000. You know, the one thing that go ahead.
I really like Bitcoin here, and I've been involved in Bitcoin since 14. Back in October, it got smacked around. It was 8,000. I actually bought some more at 8,000. And it's tested those levels, but it was really building some support between 9 and 10. It was like in that 9,000 range for a while.
Yeah.
And I was talking about, you know, if the Fed does certain things and they keep printing money with the halving, cutting down the amount of supply, that I really thought this thing could get into the teens. And it's dangerously close now to getting back into the teens. And there's a lot more people who are starting to look at it as an alt asset.
I absolutely agree. In fact, talking about InvestView's program where we had the Apex model with my company, most, right, don't want to understand or hear Bitcoin, and that's fine. So we pay them their lease payments in cash. But a deeper discussion with some forward-thinking folk, I said, look, you're making it 20%. It's protected, you know, on your lease payments. If you basically take those lease payments in Bitcoin and sit on it, you can make another 50, 100% when Bitcoin breaks 20,000, and over time, I think it will. So some of those guys are making a lot more with this market, with this election, with everything you see on TV. I'm really happy, like you discussed before with InvestView, taking my 13% return, knowing that that interest is paid for because it's all in escrow. So we're going to get that interest. If it's liquid, if you need to sell, you're not entering into a big lease payment. program. And by getting some additional equity thrown into the deal, you can make another 50% on top of it. You know, I think it's a no-brainer. So I'm staying there for now with the Deblasio, like you talked about, doing a preferred that's going to pay you 13% return and getting some equity. I just think makes tremendous sense right here.
So, Joe, yeah, break that down a little more because you and we had some tremendous success, especially even with our Liquid Lunch viewers here who participated in the Apex program before the company figured out that it was too good to be true, and now it's only for institutional type clients. But they did come out with a very new creative issuance, which is a preferred share, and it's giving a pretty serious dividend. Tell us a little bit about that and what's happening.
Yeah, so on June 30th, that program ended. Some new board members came into Deblasio that are looking to do great things for the company. And so obviously, you don't need to pay out that much to be competitive, and they recognize that. They can pay out a lot less and get institutions involved. So that ended. But there's an opportunity because now that I put on my shareholder hat, that's a good deal, right? Because they're going to do all things that can drive the company's profitability, and eventually that flows into the price of the stock when they execute. So instead of taking risk on the stock, you could buy a perpetual preferred. Okay, it's going to stay preferred. It's not going to dilute the common, and it pays a 13% quarterly per year, but it pays it quarterly. So every 3 months, by owning this stock, you can get more for your money than you would in a bank in a year plus, which is great. And they have the money sitting in escrow to pay the dividend. And if you have to sell it, you can sell it. It's liquid. It's a preferred stock at 25. It probably gets a little bit of appreciation, but most people own that for the interest of the dividend. But by participating in the deal, I can show you how you're not going to pay a commission. I'll show you how to go directly and do it yourself, right? So the company pays you directly, shareholder directly. I'm doing this because I'm spreading the love in my ecosystem because I want to see as many people succeed at this as possible if they hit their goals on the common. And I think you and I both are in agreement that we think they will as far as execution. I mean, besides the 13% on the preferred, you can make another 50%, by just getting the quote unquote free common that are rated into the deal. You'll get warrants to own stock real cheap just by participating in the preferred, which is good enough on its own.
So, Joe, let me just break that down so we can be a little more clear about it. On the Apex program, that was a minimum of $15,000 investment, so it was limiting to some people. On this program, there's no limit. You could invest as little as $100. You're going to get a common stock that's freely traded. You could sell it at any time. And if you hold it, you're going to get 13% annualized. And every 3 months, you'll get a payment of 1/4 of that, right?
Everything is correct except for the fact that you're getting common stock. You're getting preferred stock, which is a separate class. Excuse me. It's not going to trade at a few cents a share. It's going to trade at $25 a share.
Right.
In VUP on the NASDAQ where it's looking to go. But at the end of the day, it is liquid. You can sell it. And you'll get issued warrants, which will allow you to buy common stock that are just thrown into the deal. That's the gravy. That's the equity kicker, if you will.
All right, Joey, we got to leave it there. Thank you. Congratulations to your daughters graduating Marist. My daughter is starting Marist. Enjoy the family time, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, welcome back. Just breezing through this second hour here of a Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch. Early on in the whole coronavirus scare, I was talking about the fear, fright, and hysteria. It turned out to be a little worse than even I thought. And unfortunately, we lost, somewhere over 100,000 people to the COVID. And now, we have all the different hospitals and stuff. They have all the incentive in the world to call almost every death a COVID death. But I was drinking Corona beer, and I was wiping my face every day with the Corona wipes, the Lysol wipes. And, knock on wood, it kept me Corona-free, so I'm still on the Corona beer. And sometimes in all this craziness that's going on, you need a drink to just handle some of this stuff. But My next guest here, he's barely old enough to drink, but he is legal. And he joins us right now from New York. Gavin Wax joins us. He's the president of the New York Young Republican Club. He's a political commentator. He's a columnist on Town Hall and also on Newsmax. And you may have seen this viral video when they were trying to take down the Teddy Roosevelt statue. It was Gavin and the Young Republicans. By the way, the oldest Young Republican club in the country, over 100 years old, firmly, conservative, pro-Trump group. Gavin, that was a great thing that you did. There's not a lot of patriots. Everybody talks about it, but there's not a lot of people that want to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. You did an amazing job, and now you got some momentum behind you. Tell us what the feeling is right now within the group about all the great things you're doing.
Well, John, thanks for having me on. And there's a lot of great feelings going around. We feel like we really, accomplished a big thing there a few weeks ago. We got national press. It went viral, like you said, and it sort of showed that there's a massive silent majority out there that really hates what's going on with our country, and they want to see some pushback. They want to see some change. So our club, we're in the belly of the beast here in New York. I mean, you're a New Yorker, you know how it is here. So we're hoping that we can, start pushing back bit by bit. We want to take part in a lot of Back the Blue rallies. We want to defend other statues. I'm sure they're going to come after Columbus next, Jefferson, whoever it is. So our club is going to be here as an organizing force. To gather people of all ages and all backgrounds. They don't have to just be young Republicans. We had a big motley crew, a real New York crew that came out for our rally. So we're hoping to do more. We're hoping to make a stand and let our voices be heard and really draw attention to what these people are doing, what this left-wing Marxist mob is trying to do to our country and our city.
So yeah, many people don't realize, I'm glad you said the left-wing Marxist mob, because that's what it is. Many people don't realize that Black Lives Matter sounds like a really sane statement. Of course Black Lives Matter, right? But the movement that has hijacked that phrase is really a front for a bunch of Marxists who want to destroy America as we know it, and almost all of the founding principles of our nation, faith, freedom, family, liberty, individualism. They want all that stuff gone, and people don't really realize that. But you did say maybe Columbus is next. Columbus is already being beheaded. Yep. Columbus, right? Okay. I say this all the time. The guy found the place. There would be no America. You wouldn't have the opportunity to express your Marxist views if he didn't get in the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria and come over here and find the place by accident. So what the hell did Christopher Columbus do to get this kind of wrath, other than represent a country that has had probably one of the greatest generations of hard-working people? Italians came to America legally. They went through Ellis Island. They weren't allowed to get jobs in New York, and people worked, and they worked, and they built up. And a lot of Italians, they probably want to shoot somebody, but they don't go out and protest. It's just not what they do. So is that just an easy target, Columbus?
I mean, look, we had the South Philly Italians. They rallied. They defended their statue. It looked like it was that scene out of The Sopranos. And I'm half Italian, and these statues were built, in the early 1900s when, Italian immigrants were pouring into the country, and they were made, many of them by Italian, stonemasons and artisans, to welcome Italians into the U.S., to have them be part of our national history, of our national traditions, and bring them into the melting pot. And it was a great thing. But now, they're attacking him because he lived a few hundred years ago, and the moral standards in 1492 were a little different than 2020. Okay, big deal. That's history. But that's what this all is. It's about erasing history, erasing the past. They're going after groups. They're going after statues. It's all part of this cultural revisionism that they're engaging in. And you said it earlier, you said it great. It's all about marketing. They love to market this revolution, under all these great sounding phrases like Black Lives Matter, so you can't argue against it. They want to frame the argument. So, you have to be the guy who has to argue against that, which, is in a bad position. You're already losing the argument if you have to argue against Black Lives Matter. So
right. That's
they're very sneaky. They're sneaky with how they do this.
No, listen, they're clever. You know what I mean? Yep. They're clever. It's actually a very old school psychological trick to do that, because they put you in a no-win situation, right? If you say you're with them, then all of a sudden, sneakily, you're with a Marxist organization. If you say you're against Black Lives Matter, then they use the words. And then they say, hey, you're against black people. You're a racist. No. So I kind of separate the two by saying, if I say a sentence to you, Black Lives Matter, you say, hell yeah. And any sane person will say, of course they do, right? But when you put the hashtag in front of it and put it in all caps, it becomes a, a truism that I don't agree with. And I ain't gonna say hashtag Black Lives Matter because they're Marxists.
Yeah.
What are you doing with these young folks? What are you young guys doing, young guys and girls, and whatever anyone identifies as these days? What are you doing to spread the word and bring, awareness that this is a Marxist organization?
I mean, look, we're here in New York, and we may be a very blue city and a blue state, but there's tons of Republicans, young and old, across the city, and they need a place. They need a focal point where they can meet other young Republicans, where they can meet people of the same mindset. They can talk, they become friends, and they can know that they're not alone. And when you have that strength in numbers, you really could start standing up and pushing back. They like to keep us, isolated, like to make us think that we're, in the fringe, that we're in the minority, but that's just not the truth. I mean, when they came out with the abolish the police stuff, it was 60% of New Yorkers were against it. So there's a lot of people who feel and think the way we do, and having a club like my club, the New York Young Republican Club, in order to organize all these different disparate people and bring them together so we can engage in rallies, then the sky's the limit. When we had the rally, Antifa didn't show up and BLM didn't show up until after we left. And then they went after the stragglers. So they knew we had the numbers, and they purposely waited. So that's their tactics. They like to get you when they have the numbers. They like to get you on your back foot, and you have to defend, everything as if you are a racist. It's ridiculous. It's sneaky. It's shady. But we're seeing a lot of positive things across the country. A lot of different youth groups, from Students for Trump, which is massive, TPUSA, the College Republicans, the Young Republicans, Young Americans for Freedom. I mean, the youth of the party. We have a lot of different organizations. They just don't have that on the left. So if we keep building this, we can really, lead to something great, especially with Gen Z, and they're moving, pretty right wing, according to the latest polls.
Yeah, I have another. I like to get, I have old people, I have young people, I have right wingers, I have left wingers. I kind of run the gamut, you know what I mean? And we have a lot of common friends who, share, a thirst and love for the freedoms and liberties that are, the great fighting forces of our country have delivered for us and protected for us. But I have Pavlina Oster. She's a friend of the show. She's a Gen Zer. And she has been telling me for like the last year that a lot of the young people are not snowflakes. They're actually seeing through this stuff and going more and more conservative when they kind of break it down. You think we're seeing a little renaissance with this next generation of coming back to the party that actually voted to end slavery, that voted to give African American and minorities voting rights, the 14th Amendment, the 15th Amendment? They were all voted 100% yes Republican, 100% no Democrat. How come that history isn't erased?
Oh, look, I love Pavlina. She's great. I've done a few shows with her, and she's absolutely right. I mean, things are moving in the right direction. I mean, especially with the Gen Zs. They grew up in the internet age. They grew up digital. They've always had access to all this information that you just talked about at their fingertips. So they're not watching, CNN. They're not watching the mainstream. They're on the internet. They're finding their information on their own, and they're getting wise to it. And it's like it is throughout history. I mean, the young people don't want to be told what to do. So if the orthodoxy in the schools and in the media is to be left wing, then they're going to want to do the opposite of that. They're going to want to say, no, I'm on the right, I'm a conservative, because that's like, that's the counterculture. So we're seeing that. It's not the 1960s anymore. It's not like what they think it is. I mean, all the people that are running these schools are like these aging hippies from the 60s, and the people that they're trying to indoctrinate are young kids who are sick of it. So right. I think there's going to be a pushback, and I think it's going in the right direction.
That's good. Sometimes like when my nieces and nephews, DJ, Ella, and Todd, my little niece and nephews, you try to get them to eat some food, and they're like, no. And then I'll say, you know what? Give me that hot dog. That's my hot dog. You can't have it now. And then they come running for the hot dog. So it's like the same type of mentality you're talking about. They got these old hippies trying to tell them to be one way. They want to be contrarian, and that's working in our favor right now, Gavin, isn't it?
Amen. Yeah, it is, and hopefully it continues. I mean, look, they're still trying to silence a lot of conservatives on campus. Campus is a horrible place to be in right now if you're a conservative and open about it. And then they're going to come after your profession.
No doubt.
They'll dox you, and they'll make sure you don't have a job. They'll make sure you can't work in certain industries, and you get really screwed.
All right, we got to leave it there. Say hello to my buddy Jaden Horn. It was great seeing you at his house, and hopefully we'll get together soon and have a couple cocktails. Thanks a lot, Gavin. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Quick break. Come back right after this. Go down the rabbit hole to wrap up this Thirsty Thursday show. Just 2 minutes.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
I don't know. I got all these papers here. I got to read all this stuff.
So you do have notes.
I got to remember. I don't even care about this crap, okay? During the breaks, we're live on Facebook. If you want to check out what's going on behind the scenes, you'll really have a few laughs. My team, who has a grand total of 18 months experience making television, is constantly telling me of all the reasons that the things I want to happen can't happen. It's almost like I haven't been on television for 20 years. They have. But anyway, we did have there's Jess. Look how happy she is today. Mike's joining us today. He's sitting in. He may join the team also. So Jess is ticked off right now because at one point in her life, she was thinking about joining the Hollywood cult with Ellen and Tom Hanks and all those other people. And she was such a fangirl that she would go to Ellen's set and take pictures and try to, be part of it. Those photos that I showed you a little earlier today were taken by Jess. Is that right?
Correct.
I don't think your mic's on. Jess is there. She's aggravated. She's actually cursing.
Yes, I took those photos.
So you personally went to see Ellen, the Ellen show?
I did not go to a taping of the Ellen show. I went on a tour of the Warner Brothers studio lot.
Uh-huh. And you found interesting to take some photos of Ellen's set?
Yeah, because I was a fan of the show.
Were you thinking about joining the cult?
I was not thinking about joining the cult.
Okay, so Nico, let me see that picture of Tom Hanks. So in all this down the rabbit hole stuff, I'm trying not to believe it all because there's a lot out there that's really wacky. But Tom Hanks and Ellen DeGeneres have both been named as people who traveled on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet and have also been flagged as people who have visited Little St. James, otherwise known as Epstein Island. So I did find it curious that Jess, in her dogged pursuit of being a fan of Ellen's, she actually took a picture of a seat in Ellen's studio and it has Tom Hanks' name on it. So it is another connecting. Did you think of anything back then, Jess, that why is Tom Hanks
No, I thought it was perfectly normal. I figured he's been on Ellen's show. He's a friend of Ellen. Why not have a special seat in the audience?
Right. And little did you know.
They're all in a cabal. And,
right. I was going to say, little did you know that
he has a seat.
Little did you know that they order industrial cabinets on Wayfair that are worth $200 and they spend $15,000 on them so that they can traffic kids to Joe Biden's Water Island, which is 8 miles from Epstein Island, and then they take them in a submarine underwater and they sacrifice them in the temple, and then Mark Zuckerberg and Ellen.
Wait. Where'd you hear the temple part?
No, I'm just making all that stuff up. I mean, I didn't hear any of that. I mean, I heard it from a guy. One of my mentors in life, Arthur Roman, used to tell me at a time when I was just learning to become a stockbroker, he would say on the phone to someone, he would say, I just read that this stock is going up 20% today. And I would be looking at him like, wow, where did you read that? And he goes, I wrote it on my paper. This stock is going up 20% today. And then I read it. And then I could tell someone I just...
And now you know why I give you so many notes.
Yeah, and by the way, on Liquid Lunch, I was fooling around with all these papers and everything, and I thank you all for tuning in. And public service announcement, press subscribe on the YouTube page, put a comment in the Facebook stream, drop a thumbs up, a thumbs down, a smiley face, a heart, a star, whatever you can, because all that engagement interaction helps, okay? I sit here and do 2 hours of television every day, and all these notes, this is like a month's worth of show notes right here that's sitting on my desk. Despite the fact that Nico has orders from me that he should collect my rundown every day and save them, they're just piled up everywhere. But I want you to know, for all you people out there who maybe want to get involved in television and everything else, teleprompters are for news readers. Okay, so I don't have a teleprompter. Have I used them in the past? Of course I have. When I was a rank amateur, I always had to have notes on a teleprompter. But the best way that you can communicate a message, and really, you know, most people who comment and send me notes, I got the haters out there, they say, John, you suck, John, you're fat, wear more makeup, your hair sucks, all this other stuff. Haters are good for business, okay? If there were no haters, there would be no lovers. It's like a yin-yang thing. But, and keep hating. I don't even mind it. It's good for me. The positive feedback I get overwhelmingly is like, JT, you know what? You just say it off the top of your head. You don't think about it. You're not coining, okay? People like realness. And what I try to do every day is not give you some canned analysis that I'm reading off teleprompter, but give you what comes out of here, my brain. And trust me, there's a lot of extra space in here, but things come out of it. And what comes out of here, my heart, when I start flipping out about pedophile rings, or flipping out about 9/11 families can't read the names of their loved ones, or flipping out that they want to defund the police when 70% of the people in the inner cities want the police, I start flipping out. I'm really flipping out. I'm not reading it off a teleprompter. So Jess was supposed to do a little segment today, and we were going to talk about those photos that she took when she was a fangirl and trying to, you know, go to Ellen's thing. And then I used them earlier in the show when I had to fill some time. And now I asked her to talk about them and give us a little more detail on those. And she's refusing to talk about it because she can't use her notes because she had the notes prepared and everything else. So Nico was just about to go back to school for his master's when I convinced his father to let him forego the master's program and become a television producer. And in a year and a half, he's become a television producer for the most part. So I think I'm doing something right. Now, he's a great talent, and he knows a little about sports, and I'm encouraging him every day to come on the show, but he still needs notes. And I don't like when people need notes. And Jess needs notes. She's shaking her head. She's all mad at me over there. The best way you can convey a real message is to be yourself. And if you need notes to read off a piece of paper, you're not looking in the camera and engaging the audience. And as scary as this mug may be, I try to keep it focused right there on you and talk to you from here, and about the things that make a lot of sense. I'll be doing it again tomorrow. It's Fan Friday, it's Funny Friday, it's a Freaky Friday. You got to tune in at noon. Tomorrow we'll be here, same bat time, same bat channel. More Liquid Lunch.